All American troops in Afghanistan will be out of the region by September 11th, 20 years after the attacks that pulled the U.S. into its longest war. President Biden made that announcement today. NBC News White House correspondent Carol Lee joining me now. So, Carol, what do we know about how President Biden reached that decision?
Well, Allison, he started with a review of Afghanistan policy. As you'll recall, the administration inherited a deal that the Trump administration cut with the Taliban that outlined May 1st as a deadline for when all U.S. troops would withdraw, with some conditions, namely that the Afghan government and the Taliban negotiated their own peace agreement, all to end the war. So after a review of the policy, the president was presented with various options for drawing down the troops. We've reported he pushed back on the notion that they should stay longer. This is a position that President Biden has had for a very long time. He's always thought that the war in Afghanistan was one of diminishing returns in terms of what the U.S. was investing in it. And so he agreed to consider an extension for as much as 6 months and settled on this symbolic date of complete drawdown by September 11th, 2021, which is the 20-year anniversary of the attacks on 9/11. What we're told, though, from administration officials is that this could happen earlier, that troops could be fully out of Afghanistan before September 11th of this year, and that they're going to start withdrawing them before that May 1st deadline. So the president really expected tomorrow to come out and say that this is a war that's ending, and will end by September of this year. But even though the U.S. will keep some troops in Afghanistan to protect diplomatic forces at their embassy there, we have a very large embassy in Kabul, it's effectively over after 2 decades of war.
So, Carol, how concerning? I keep trying to wrap my brain around this May 1st deadline that the Trump administration negotiated with the Taliban. I mean, is the U.S. setting itself up for potential retaliation here? What are the risks around keeping some troops potentially in Afghanistan till September?
Yeah, it's a great point, and it is a risk, because what the Taliban have said is that May 1st deadline is part of the deal, and while they've agreed to not attack U.S. and our allies' forces who are in Afghanistan, that's off the table if the U.S. stays beyond May 1st. What the White House is saying is, look, we've made clear to the Taliban in no uncertain terms that if they do try to attack U.S. troops as we are undergoing this withdrawal, that they will pay for that there'll be retaliation. But it really sets up some risk for troops that are there, the fact that we're staying a little bit longer. And there's no guarantee that the Taliban is going to abide by what it has abided by, which is not attacking American forces and forces from our countries that are U.S. allies. They have, however, really stepped up attacks on the Afghan government and civilians.
Carol, let's talk about the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine pause. Nearly 7 million Americans have already gotten this shot. Some people now really concerned, maybe even panicking a little bit. How is the White House addressing public concerns about this vaccine's safety?
Well, we saw today that some of the president's team that's responding to the pandemic spoke publicly at the White House briefing, including Dr. Fauci. And what his message was this is rare when this happens, the side effect, and also that if somebody had gotten the shot a while ago, a month ago or so, that you're in the clear, that it really only happens within the first 2 weeks after receiving the vaccine. Take a listen to Dr. Fauci.
So someone who maybe had it a month or two ago would say, what does this mean for me? It really doesn't mean anything. You're okay, because if you look at the time frame when this occurs, it's pretty tight, from a few days, 6 to 13 days from the time of the vaccination. This is a really rare event. If you look at what we know so far, there have been 6 out of the 6.85 million doses, which is less than 1 in a million.
Now, one of the concerns that this raises is that this could affect vaccine hesitancy. We already know that a number of Americans are really hesitant to get the vaccine. There's particularly those who are in that wait and see crowd. If you're one of those wait and see folks, you probably got a little boost here for that view today when this announcement came out, because you might want to think it before, that you're justified in waiting a little bit longer to see how it all shakes out. What the White House is saying is that the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, that those are safe. There's nothing wrong with them. They haven't had any issues. They've been injecting them into the arms of Americans for some time, and so they should stick with those. And they said they're rescheduling those who had appointments for J&J vaccines to get those. And then you heard President Biden say today that this does not affect the timeline in terms of meeting that 200 million shots in Americans' arms within his first 100 days, which is coming up very soon, and also that he has enough of the other Pfizer, Moderna vaccines to vaccinate all Americans.
Let's hope, Carol, because we know the race is on. We got to get people vaccinated so we can get back to life and stay healthy. Carol, thank you so much.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.